Hey there, and welcome back to the third episode of the Power and Potential podcast. Today's episode, my friend, is going to be just you and I having a good chat. So here's a question for you. Do you often feel like you want to do things but never end up doing them? Do you find that you kind of crave a certain experience or a way of life but then don't take the actions that can get you there? I have personally found this to be one of the biggest things in my life. It's one of the biggest challenges I've faced. For most of my adult life, I feel like there was this major part of me that was still dormant inside and I could never understand it. Like there was this version of myself that was sleeping. And as much as I tried to kind of wake it up, so to speak, it just wasn't happening for me. And I always felt unsatisfied, like something big was really missing. I'd say things like, I wish I could spend more time outside. Or I wish I could go for a run outside. I wish I could do active things like go on a bike ride or whatever, all these kinds of things. You know, I would love to go for hikes, runs, go rollerblading, like literally anything. Just get outside and get moving. And the urge was so strong, like every single day I felt it. But the problem was that I didn't actually go outside. I distracted myself with all kinds of other things and ignored the need to get moving and to get outside. So years just passed by and the urge never really went away. Like, I don't know if you guys ever experienced this, but when I see people running outside, like down the street on the sidewalk, I feel this sense of like, not jealousy, probably envy, just like, oh, I wish that was me. But then it's like, I don't make the moves to actually get myself there, right? So that was just one example of wanting to do certain things and stopping myself from actually doing them. I also had crazy amounts of drive and I've built my businesses from the ground up, and it's crazy to think about how much time and energy and money I was willing to put in to growing my businesses. And then when it came to actually scaling it to a size where I can make a much bigger impact, I would just completely stall, like put on the brakes and don't do anything, like completely stall. And it was pretty recent when I realized what was happening. Fear had completely taken over my life. Literally, every little thing, every little decision became a reason for me to question myself, question my ability. Like, what would happen if this went through? Like, what would happen if I did this or did that? And somehow the pattern, like this fear-based pattern, kept coming up in my thoughts. And then once I start thinking about those things, it just makes me pull back. And I wasn't really conscious of that at all. It just, at one point I noticed that's what was happening. And so I started taking a much deeper look, right, at what was going on. So I noticed that I would focus too long on all the things that could go wrong. And that would end up paralyzing me completely. And the crazy part about all of that is that it wasn't conscious. And that's so intense to actually think about, that like our minds can literally control everything that we do and we don't even notice. We don't even know what is going on. So it took probably at least a year or two for me to come to that realization of how badly fear was actually getting in my way. So when I dug deep into this, after I started wondering why the heck I'm so scared of everything, I started learning so much. So back in 2001, I was in a car accident that really messed up my body. I was a pedestrian crossing the street. It was Halloween night. And I remember, not really relevant to the story, but I remember before leaving that day, I was in grade 11 and I had a presentation the next day. I had a lot of work to do, like projects were due and all that. And so I had committed to having like an all-nighter that night. So I walked down the street to the nearest Staples. There was a Staples and a Walmart right next to each other near my house. And so I went out and I had a horrible feeling. Like I just had a feeling like something bad was going to happen. And now in hindsight, I know that was my intuition. But I mean, what are you going to do, right? Like you need a bunch of stuff for work. Like you need to go get it. So that's what I did. But the whole entire time I was nervous. I was scared. I was scared walking down the street. I was looking all around me. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I felt like something was going to happen. So I was a pedestrian crossing the street and there was a pickup truck turning left on into the lane where I was crossing. And it was nighttime. It was about 9 p.m. and it had been raining earlier that day. And I guess he wasn't paying much attention. So as I was crossing the road and looking around, I noticed this big red pickup truck coming straight towards me. And it happened so fast and I literally had no time to react. I made eye contact with him right before I was hit. And then I flew about 8 feet down the road and landed in a cross-legged position on the ground. and I was super close to like a curb, which had I hit my head on that curb, I think the outcome would have been completely different. So I'm grateful. I'm really grateful for how that whole thing turned out. Anyways, that night, I ended up fracturing my pelvis in 3 spots. I fractured a rib. I injured my spine, both of my knees, and my right shoulder. So I was lucky. I was lucky because I know that it could have been way worse. I was able to heal pretty well and move on with my life. I wasn't killed. I wasn't permanently disabled. And for that, I was very, very grateful. And I still am super grateful for that. But what I didn't realize is that over the years, I had developed this fear of re-injuring myself. My knees were weak. My back was weak. My shoulder was weak. Everything was weak. And I just didn't want to take any risks. I didn't want to fall and hurt myself and be out of commission for a few weeks. So subconsciously, I told myself I just wasn't going to do anything physical. Even when it came to wearing heels, I would avoid it at all costs because of this crazy fear of falling that I had developed. And I mean, part of it is legitimate because I know what it felt like to be completely like down and out because of injuries, right? So I didn't want to go there again. But at the same time, there were steps that I could have taken to make sure that I didn't re-injure myself. But what that fear did is it just pulled me back completely. It didn't make me like launch into action to help protect myself against further injury. Instead, it just made me pull back, not do anything physical, which of course had its own set of outcomes as a result, right? So when I discovered this fear, I was like, wow, really? Like an injury of 16 years ago plus has that much impact on my life right now? That many years later? It's so crazy and it's so bizarre. And it fascinates me because I know that is the power of our minds, right? Like something happens at some point in our lives and it somehow just converts into like an automatic habit, and it starts reflecting itself in so many other ways in our lives in different areas. So this whole fear of being injured, has shown up so many times of just like a fear of not wanting to get hurt, right? And at some point you forget that it's because once upon a time I was in an accident and I hurt myself. It's not about that anymore. It's like, I just don't want to hurt myself, period. And actually, as a matter of fact, this week, what was it this week? Yeah. Earlier this week, I got a gym membership, and I haven't been to the gym in an extremely long time. So I'm one of those people that you get the gym membership, you're excited for like the first month, and then you stop going and you keep paying for it and you waste all your money basically. So for the last few years, I said to myself, I'm not doing that until I'm ready to commit to exercising on a regular basis. I'll talk about my health journey in a different podcast, so I won't get into that now. But basically my point to you is that even though I realize that there's this fear of re-injury and there's this fear of kind of being physical, even though I know that, the automatic habit is still there. So when I was at the gym earlier this week, I was just paranoid. I was just super paranoid about all the exercises that I was doing, especially because of my knees. My knees are really weak. And like I said, since that accident back in 2001, I haven't really strengthened my legs, which is what would really, really help in terms of preventing a re-injury, right? So I'm at the gym and I'm conscious, very, very conscious about my injuries and just trying not to get hurt again. And, I kind of realized like, I don't know the line anymore between like what's a dangerous pain versus what is, like what is regular pain basically when you're working out, like not pain, but like obviously you're not supposed to feel super comfortable when you're working out for the first time after like a million years. So anyways, I noticed that paranoia, and I was doing a combat class, which is basically like a boxing class, and there were squats and lunges involved, and I know that those are extremely hard on the knee, especially for an injured knee. And so I noticed that my immediate reaction was like almost just not to do them. Like I pulled back completely. That fear kicked in like 100%, and it shows itself more as like a protection mechanism, right? It's like, oh, no, you can't do that because you can't be down and out for a few weeks right now. You really need these knees. And that's true, and that makes sense. But at the same time, it's like, I need to strengthen my legs somehow, right? And so once I noticed that that's what was happening and I was pulling back, I did my best. I still took it easy because I want to make sure that I don't get hurt. but I still did the exercises. I still did the squats and the lunges. And so it's really interesting to see how your body just starts to adapt, or how your mind starts to adapt once you start noticing those patterns that you have and kind of where the fears actually stem from. So that is incredibly, incredibly powerful. And that's just one example of how it's been showing up in my life at the gym recently. So because I haven't done much to strengthen my body since my accident, it is true that my body is weak. But now I realize that this fear of falling or hurting myself, or the fear of not being able to take care of myself, is just not valid. That fear isn't logical. It's an old fear, right? And it's certainly not worth sitting inside all day and missing out on the amazing outdoors and missing out on the feeling that you get when you're being active. You know, your body craves that. My body craves it for a reason. It's obviously sending me messages like you need to get out and move your body and enjoy the fresh air outside. And that's super healthy for all of us, right? So resisting that isn't the best thing for me to be doing right now. And so now it's a matter of kind of moving past that fear and understanding that, you know, where it came from was legitimate at that time. And of course, after my accident, I did need to protect myself and I did need to watch everything that I did, but that's not the case right now. That's no longer the case. That was like almost 17 years ago. So around this time, when I was digging into this, I started realizing that I was scared of so many more things. And I knew that one day I'll get to the bottom of each of them and understand their root causes. But in the meantime, there's literally no use in letting my fear control my life. So when I actually started thinking about all the things that I'm scared of, it just blew my mind at how many things there were. And obviously, like with this example that I just told you about, I can pinpoint easily where it started, right? Like I can understand that there was a big event that caused this fear. But with a lot of the things that I'm fearing in my life, I can't do that right away, right? First, it takes understanding that you have a fear in the first place. And then slowly, as you become more and more conscious, and as you start thinking a little bit more about it, even if it's not like consciously thinking about it all the time, eventually you're going to start seeing the signs. You're going to start seeing things that point you in the direction of the root cause so that you can understand it a little bit better, right? So basically, as I started going through this process and I started realizing like, man, these fears are just, they're everywhere, right? And I guess I feel like they're almost contagious. Like one fear leads to another fear and you just end up in this like pool of insecurity, right? So I came to the conclusion that there is no reason to scare myself out of little things. Like, for example, sending a LinkedIn message to someone I don't know, right? There's no reason to be afraid of asking for a job or asking for a raise. There is nothing to be afraid of. I realize that all that matters is that I believe in myself, and whether other people believe in me or not is actually up to them. But if I believe in myself, then I can pretty much do anything, right? I can't control the outcome, but I can definitely do anything, like I can put myself out there. I don't need to be scared of that. Another quick example, I came across this really interesting article recently about a new company, a new startup called Hello Prosper. And the message was basically an interview coach in your pocket. And I was like, what is this? So, like I've been doing career coaching and career blogging and all those things for a couple of years, actually more than a couple of years now. And so I was intrigued. I was like, oh, what is this? And then I found out that basically that they were creating this app where you can log on and connect with a coach at any time. So if you got an interview or if you wanted to prepare for an interview in advance, you can log on to this app and you can pick yourself a coach and you can connect with them right away and start practicing interview questions. And I thought that was incredible because in my time of career coaching and doing blogs and doing workshops and all the stuff that I've been doing around careers and helping people navigate the job market, I realized that one of the things that we've always been missing is that nobody ever gets feedback on their interviews, right? Like we go through interviews, we think we might have done okay, or like, you can reflect to a certain degree, but you can't really know for sure how you did, right? And so I thought this was brilliant. I'm like, finally, somebody came up with something to actually give us real feedback about our interview performance, because that's what it is at the end of the day, right? And you can practice for it, you can get better at it, and you can rock every single interview. So anyways, my gut reaction was like, you need to connect with these people right away. This is awesome. But the next thing that I thought of, like right after that, was like, who do you think you are? Why do you think they're going to want to connect with you? They don't want to talk to you. Like all these crazy thoughts started like flowing into my mind, and essentially was like talking me out of doing it, right? And so I remembered Mel Robbins' 5-second rule, which basically says the second you have a thought, give yourself 5 seconds. Within 5 seconds, you have to do it, because after 5 seconds, this is exactly what's going to happen. You will talk yourself out of it. You'll start to think about all of these fears that are in your subconscious mind, right? They're already there. That's the thing. So you have to make sure that you act quickly. So I thought of that right away, and I sent an email. And I pushed through it, even though I was nervous, and I was like, what are they going to think of me? Blah, 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 all these crazy things. And so I emailed them right away. And I also emailed one of my contacts who showed up on LinkedIn as somebody who knows the founder, one of the founders of Prosper. So I emailed them both. I said, you know what? I'm going to take my chances. Whoever can connect with me sooner, then great, right? And I realized that the worst that can happen if I send that email or that message is that they're going to say, no, they don't want to talk to me, or they're going to just ignore me. Which, when you look at it that way, it's a lot more manageable, right? Like, it's a lot less scary that I can take that. I can handle them saying, no, I can't talk to you right now, or just not responding to my email, right? That's not going to kill me. So that was really helpful to remind myself of, like, yes, I am capable of overcoming this fear, even if the worst possible outcome happened, right? All that matters is my reaction to the situation. The good news is that they did respond to my email, and I ended up starting to work with them as a career coach, and it's been really awesome. So it's been a few months. I've been working with Prosper, and I coach users who are on the app and who want to improve their interview performance. So it's been really, really exciting. And if you guys are interested in that, I'm going to put a link in the show notes so you guys can check out the app. You can start it out for the first week for free, and then you can sign up if you're interested, and you can work with me. You can pick whichever coach you want. So if you want to work with me, then that would be wicked, and we would have a ton of fun, and you would learn to kill all of your interviews. In that situation, I got over my fear, and the best possible scenario happened, right? But sometimes it's not going to be that way. And if you can just be confident that you can handle the outcome, no matter what the outcome is, it becomes a lot less scary, right? And your reaction to the situation is the most important thing in all of this. So let's take another example. You want a raise because you've been working at the same company for the last 3 years, and you have countless accomplishments to show for it. You've proven yourself over and over again, and you know for a fact that you are an asset to the company. They've given you so much positive feedback all along since you started, and they keep talking about you being involved in long-term goals that the company has, like way, way far out in the future. So you know that they want you to stick around. And although you like your team and the work environment, you can't shake the feeling that the work you're putting in there is just worth more than what they're paying for you. As a matter of fact, you've even done some research online, and you've talked to other people in similar positions that work in different companies. And the bottom line is that you know you are worth this raise. So you approach your boss and you let her know your reasoning. You tell her about how much you value being a part of her team, and you present your reasons why you think you deserve this raise. She tells you that they love having you on the team and they value you more than you can imagine, but they unfortunately can't give you a raise right now because of reasons outside of her control that she can't share with you right now. She also isn't clear on when that might change and when they will be able to give you that raise. So more likely than not, you leave this meeting with your boss pretty disappointed and probably feeling a little bit defeated. But here's the thing. You choose how you react, right? You make the decision to be pissed off and stick around even though you're pissed off, or you make the decision to look around for another position, or you decide to accept it as it is and move forward happily in your role because you're that happy in the position that even without a pay raise, you're still going to be happy staying there. You get to decide that. So at the end of the day, if someone says no to you, or you get ignored, or you get rejected, they say no to your request, guess what? It's all good because you get to choose what happens next. It doesn't need to be your ticket into the tunnels of sorrow where you just wallow in your sadness, right? When you look at it this way, it becomes so much less scary to do the things that scare you in this very moment. And to be honest, it's pretty thrilling to think about it this way, actually, because now there are a million more things you can do right now that you weren't willing to do yesterday. So back to my big realization of my fears. When I started thinking about all the fears that I have, I took out a Google Doc and I wrote at the top of it, things I want to do but haven't done because I'm scared. That was the title, and just started writing anything that came to my mind. In less than 5 minutes, I had over 70 things on my list. 70. This is a true story. I'm like, okay then, well, I guess I have some work to do. So I committed to doing one thing that scares me every single day. And I reorganized all the points on my list so that the least scary ones were at the top and I can start with those. And the most scary were at the end. And day by day, I worked through them. And the release of this podcast was near the end of that list. And here it is. And so I've put it out there. And honestly, I couldn't feel any better about it. So in this process, I realized that practicing courage brings you all these amazing feelings that you probably don't have access to otherwise, like exhilaration and excitement and confidence. You literally feel like you can conquer the world. And so as a part of this challenge I did with myself, I pitched myself to various people. I applied to speak at TEDx, which I didn't get into, but that's totally besides the point because it was scary as hell to even apply. And I did it. So I felt really, really proud of myself. I even started hiking on a regular basis, which was awesome. So I'm making moves, and let me tell you, it's feeling so, so good. So let me ask you, do you ever feel the same way that I felt? Like fear is taking over your life, or that you want to do so many things and you just aren't making the moves? Or maybe you just have one big thing that scares you and it really excites you, but it's scary as hell. And you want to move forward towards it, but you don't sense that you are moving forward towards it at all. If that does resonate with you, then you should definitely give this little exercise a try. If there are a lot of things on your list, like there were for me, then you can do one thing that scares you every single day. So write out your list the first time around without filtering out anything at all. Like literally anything that comes to your mind, just get it down on the paper. Then once you have nothing else to add, you can reorder them. So you can start with the least scary and then end with the most scary, because you'll build up to it. You'll gain the confidence. And as you practice doing things that scare you, you're going to like almost build that courage muscle. Like I really see it as a muscle. Once you start doing it, you get stronger and stronger and stronger. And then you're going to be way more willing to do scarier things. So if you do have only one or two really big things that terrify you and you can't seem to make progress on those, then what you can do is break down each one into the smallest steps you can possibly imagine. So one big thing may turn into like 20 smaller steps in order to get you there. And by taking on just one step at a time and not thinking about the future steps, you will be able to conquer it. Trust me, you can do this. Break it into smaller steps and take one baby step at a time. And slowly, you're going to get to that big thing that you feel is almost impossible right now. So, my friend, I really want to hear from you. If you got any value out of this episode, I would love for you to let me know. So you can do that over on Instagram, or you could do that in a podcast review, either on iTunes or Google Play, or you can just send me a message, send me an email. If you're on my website, there's a million ways you can contact me, but I really want to know what you think. If you try these exercises, I want to know that too. And once you do, you're going to feel so good. You'll be on a high. You won't want to stop doing things that scare you because it's that exciting. I'm telling you, it's like borderline addicting. I also want to let you know that every single week I run a free webinar that talks about clarity, confidence, and courage. So how can we build on those three things as the foundation to get us closer to the life that we really, really want? So basically, I break down how to become more clear on who you are, how to build your confidence, and how to start practicing courage on a regular basis so that you can actually take control of your life and design all the little pieces that make up your life into the life you really, really want and the life you're actually going to love. So if you're interested, to sign up for that webinar, check out the show notes. The link is going to be in the show notes, and you can pick the time that works best for you and sign up, and then I will see you there. So I do 2 webinars live every single week, and once you're there live with me, we're going to have a blast. So I cannot wait to connect with you in the webinars, and I can't wait to hear from you about what you thought about this episode. I had so much fun talking about it, so I'm really hoping that you had a ton of fun listening to it, and hopefully you got some value and something that you can move forward with right now. Thank you so much for listening today, and I hope that you will come on over to Instagram and say hello. That is where I'm hanging out most these days on social media. So if you are on Instagram, come on over, send me a DM. I answer all of my DMs. I love hearing from you guys. So send me a message. Let me know what you thought. And yeah, until next time, my friend. And in the meantime, keep on designing the life that you love. Step by step will get you there and way beyond. Have an absolutely amazing day, and I will see you in the next episode.